First thing I need to do is find an apartment, because that way I'll have an address, I'll know where I'm going, when my potential move-in date would be, and then I can schedule the moving truck and kind of go from there. So that being said, I've never actually moved to another city or another state without first having a job lined up. This was kind of like a new thing for me. Like, I'm just gonna pick up and move to a new city, not have a job, and I was kind of okay with that. So I've been living off of my savings for the past 2 years while I've been in business school. And that savings has dwindled, of course, and I don't have a ton of money saved up to kind of continue, like paying for rent and stuff like that for a few months in Dallas. And so my plan was, I'm going to move down there, I will find a part-time job, but I will also be working simultaneously on getting my businesses started and working on my startup. And so I wanted to kind of find like a more inexpensive apartment and then rent out a private office space that I can use to work, just kind of after doing some preliminary searches online over the past couple of weeks. It wasn't anything serious. It was just kind of like when I had a few minutes, let me check out Zillow, let me check out some different co-working spaces. I kind of had an idea of what a potential budget would be. And so I was kind of thinking maybe $1,000 to $1,200 for an apartment, and then potentially like $300 for a single private office. But that has all kind of changed and gone out the window, because this past weekend was when I was like in earnest looking for an apartment, looking at potential office spaces, and I've realized after kind of like reading reviews on different neighborhoods and different apartment complexes, that the pictures that they're showing online look really great, but then once you do a little more research, they're maybe not necessarily, the apartments aren't necessarily in the safest area. There's a lot of crime and theft. There's like pests in the apartments. The maintenance isn't very good. And like, honestly, I had never even heard of a catalytic converter, but there's apparently so many apartment complexes where people steal catalytic converters from your car, because there's metal in there that's really valuable. And I read so many reviews where it's like, don't move here, like they're gonna steal this thing out of your car. I didn't even know these things existed. And those are definitely places that I don't want to live. So I've had to do a lot more research. I've had to kind of adjust and flex my original plans a little bit, and I am starting to look at apartments that are in kind of a $1,500 to $2,000 range, which is more expensive than what I was originally kind of thinking I would need to pay. But at the same time, having a comfortable, safe living environment is something that's really important to me. I'm just the type of person where my home is like my sanctuary. It's where I recharge and refresh. It's just a calm space for me. So I want to make sure that I'm living someplace where I feel comfortable. And if that means paying more, that means paying more. And I'm also looking at even potentially stretching that even further and doing maybe up to $2,500 if I can get a townhouse that's 3 bedrooms. So a lot of the apartment complexes that I'm looking at, they're really large complexes. And just kind of based off of pictures and reviews and things that I've read, it seems like there's not a lot of space, like they're large complexes crammed into a little area, and there's parking's really tight, like the buildings are really close together, and I am kind of hoping for a little bit more space. I think that would be ideal, especially with my dog, because he's going to be there with me as well. So I am, if I can find a townhouse where there's just a little bit more space, I would prefer that. And then, of course, like most townhouses have garages, whereas at apartment complexes, just kind of the ones I've been seeing in reviews, some have reserved parking where you pay extra for parking spaces, and then others are just kind of first come, first serve, but there aren't always enough parking spaces. Anyways, so I could get an apartment, a 2-bedroom, 2-bath apartment, from anywhere from $1,500 to $2,000. I would pay anywhere from $2,000 to $2,500 for a townhouse. And I think I could potentially get a 3-bedroom, which would be ideal, especially if it had the right layout, where I wouldn't have to then rent a separate office, because I could use the 3rd bedroom as my office. Because again, like, initial prices for offices were a little bit deceiving. I was looking at co-working spaces, and for not necessarily a dedicated seat or a private office, just a space in the co-working area, would be about $100 a month. But then looking at like the costs of the private offices, I'm looking at around $600 a month, which is double what I had wanted to pay, because I was kind of budgeting maybe $300 for that. So if I could get a 3-bedroom with the right layout, I could potentially just use that 3rd bedroom as an office, and I won't have to then rent out a private office, which is why I'm willing to pay a little bit more for a 3-bedroom townhouse. But because my housing budget has now ballooned, and I'm looking at, spending nearly double what I was originally thinking, it's kind of made me think about how I'm going to pay for this, right? So like I said, I don't currently have a job lined up, and I wasn't planning on getting one right away, but the plan always was to go down there, and if I needed to work part-time to pay my rent and some other bills, after 6 months after I graduate my student loans, I'll have to start repaying those. So I know I am going to have to work in some capacity to be able to kind of exist and live and pay my bills. But I was hoping that I wouldn't have to do it like right away, or do it full time. But the more that I think about it, the more that I'm realizing that I don't want money to hold me back. I definitely am in a place, in my life where I have my education, I have my professional background that I can rely on, and I can get a very well-paying job. And I know that I want to focus on my own businesses and my startup, but I think that if I am diligent about it and organized about it, I can focus on those things and still work at a company. It's going to require a little more effort on my part in terms of scheduling and being motivated to actually work on my own businesses. So I've kind of shifted the plan a little bit, and I am currently reaching out to some companies and seeing if I can secure a full-time position, so that way I will have the money and kind of the freedom to do what I want, in terms of getting an office space, having money to pay people to do different freelance type work for my businesses, and not have to worry about how I'm going to pay my rent or how I'm going to pay my bills. So I am looking to secure a full-time job in the next 1.5 months, but I do want it to be one where I'm working remotely. So that way the office space that I do rent, I can just go ahead and work from there for my full-time job, and then just kind of stay there and work on my own business as well. So I'm going to be looking for a job, and once I get one, I really don't have to worry about, what I'm spending on my apartment or what I'm spending for an office space. And that's really what I want, because I know if I have a comfortable place to live, I'm living somewhere where I want to live, the rest I can do, right? I can work on my businesses. I can come up with a pitch deck, a business plan, an alpha product, whatever it is that I need to do, I can do that. I just want to make sure that I'm comfortable and kind of secure in the other areas of my life. And this weekend I was kind of really letting all of this stress me out, but today things have been a lot better, and I've realized that yes, it is a lot to get done. Yes, there are a lot of moving parts, and then me introducing this kind of concept of getting a job, so that it's not a new concept, right? Getting a job, but it's not something that I had initially thought I would need, but just based off of the expenses that I'm expecting, it would be a little bit better if I had that financial kind of foundation from having a full-time job. I really feel like I just need to step back a little bit, because a lot of things are coming to a head, right? This is my last month of school. I have a lot of assignments and papers due, and then right after that I have a couple of weeks before I have to move, and I think I'm just getting a little bit overwhelmed with everything, and I need to focus on finishing up school, and then I can do this. And even if the moving stuff happens very quickly, it's going to get done one way or another.